The volcanic ash beneath Corporal Tony Stein's boots feels like broken glass as the first wave hits Green Beach. Mount Suribachi looms above, its slopes bristling with hidden guns. In his hands rests a weapon that shouldn't exist. A machine gun cobbled together from crashed aircraft parts in a California workshop. It fires 1,500 rounds per minute, triple the rate of standard Marine weapons. What the 21,000 Japanese defenders don't know is that the stocky toolmaker from Dayton, Ohio, is about to rewrite the mathematics of courage. In the next 12 hours, he'll make 8 trips back to the beach, through withering fire. Each time, carrying a wounded Marine to safety. Each time returning with more ammunition for his homemade killing machine. 10 days later, a sniper's bullet will end his life. But what happens in between, the story of how a high school dropout built a weapon the military never authorized and used it to earn the first Medal of Honor on Iwo Jima, reveals something profound about American innovation, brotherhood, and the terrible cost of victory. The problem began long before any Marine set foot on Iwo Jima's black sand. Standard infantry doctrine in 1944 centered on the M1919 Browning machine gun, reliable, proven, devastatingly effective in sustained fire. But it weighed 31 pounds, required a crew of at least 2 men, fired at a respectable but unremarkable 400 to 600 rounds per minute. Most critically, it couldn't move fast enough for the kind of aggressive assault tactics the Marine Corps needed for island warfare. When you're charging across open ground toward concrete pillboxes, speed matters, firepower matters. The Min 1919 was designed for defensive positions, for holding ground, not for the mad dash across killing zones that defined Pacific combat. Marines needed something lighter, faster, more mobile. Something that could keep up with the riflemen leading the assault. The problem was simple. The solution didn't exist. September 30th, 1921. Dayton, Ohio. Anthony Michael Stein enters the world as the son of Steve and Rose Stein, Jewish immigrants who fled Austria-Hungary to escape persecution. His biological father dies when Tony is 3. The depression hits hard. Young Tony drops out of Kaiser High School during freshman year. Not because he's unintelligent, but because traditional schooling doesn't fit his hands-on nature. He finds work that does. Dayton in the 1930s as America's aviation capital. Patterson Field employs 65,000 workers building the aircraft that will soon fight a war nobody sees coming. Tony learns toolmaking at Delco Products, a General Motors division, manufacturing aircraft landing gear. He operates drill presses, masters precision metalwork, learns to read tolerances measured in thousandths of an inch. The skills seem mundane, ordinary, the kind of work thousands of young men do every day. But in 4 years, these same skills will help create a weapon that changes the battle for Iwo Jima. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor burns. Tony Stein is 20 years old, working at Delco Products on war essential production. His draft exemption means he doesn't have to go. His mother Rose, who already lost one husband, begs him to stay. The exemption is ironclad. He's building landing gear for the bombers and fighters America desperately needs. But in February 1942, Stein wins the Dayton Golden Glove Championship at 128 pounds. He stands 5'6" tall, a scrapper, a fighter. And on September 22nd, 1942, the 130-pound toolmaker walks into a Marine Corps recruiting station. He specifically requests assignment to the Marines because, as records note, they're sent into battle first. He wants to fight the fascists who attacked his country. The transformation over the next 20 months is remarkable. When Tony Stein returns from paramarine training, elite Marine shock troops, he stands 5'8". He weighs 190 pounds of solid muscle. Built like a linebacker. People who knew him in Dayton don't recognize the physical specimen who ships out for the Pacific. Bougainville, 1943. Corporal Stein fights with the 3rd Parachute Battalion through some of the most brutal jungle combat of the Pacific War. It's here he earns his first reputation. He shoots 5 Japanese snipers in a single day. His comrades start calling him the Sniper Exterminator. The nickname isn't bravado. It's earned through patience, discipline, and a cold-blooded ability to locate and eliminate enemy marksmen before they kill Marines. Snipers are a special breed of terror in Pacific combat. Hidden in treetops, concealed in spider holes, they pick off officers, radiomen, corpsmen. Anyone whose death causes maximum disruption. Hunting them requires exceptional marksmanship, tactical awareness, and something harder to define: a hunter's instinct. Tony Stein has it. But what his superiors notice, what gets noted in fitness reports, isn't just his body count. It's his initiative. His willingness to take action when others hesitate, the quality that separates Marines who follow orders from Marines who win battles. July 21, 1943. Stein marries Joan Stomminger, a co-worker from Patterson Field in San Diego. 3 days later he deploys overseas. They'll never see each other again. When the Paramarines disband in 1944, Stein transfers to the newly formed 5th Marine Division at Camp Pendleton, California. He's assigned as assistant squad leader, 13 men, Company A, 1st Battalion, 28 Marines. It's here, in the California sun, that Tony Stein meets Sergeant Mel Grevich, an armorer with an idea that will change everything. The aircraft graveyard at Camp Pendleton holds dozens of crashed, damaged, obsolete planes, stripped for parts, waiting for scrap. Sergeant Grevich sees something others don't. The rear defensive positions of Douglas SPD Dauntless dive bombers mount AN and M2 Browning machine guns. These aren't standard infantry weapons, they're aviation guns, designed for weight reduction above everything else. The bolts are lighter, barrel walls thinner, receiver reduced, buffer springs optimized, every component engineered to shed grams while maintaining devastating firepower. In an aircraft traveling 200 miles per hour, cooling wind prevents overheating. On the ground, sustained fire would melt the barrel. But for short, violent assault operations, they're perfect. The physics are straightforward. Force equals mass times acceleration. Same recoil forces driving the cycling action, but significantly lighter moving parts means dramatically faster cycling. The AN-M2 fires at 1,200 to 1,500 rounds per minute. Standard M1919 manages 400 to 600. That's a 250 to 375% increase in firepower. But aircraft guns come configured for remote firing, solenoid triggers, spade grips, no shoulder stock, no sights. This is where Tony Stein's tool-making expertise proves invaluable. Working with Grevich and Private First Class John Little, they fabricate a mechanical trigger assembly from sheet metal scraps. They cut down and hollow out an M1 Garand rifle stock, bolting it to the AN/M2's buffer tube. They mount a BAR bipod to the front for stability, add a carrying handle, install crude but adequate sights adapted from BAR components. A 100-round box magazine attaches to the side. The final product weighs approximately 25 pounds loaded, 29% lighter than the N1919. It can empty 100 rounds in 4 to 5 seconds of sustained fire. They build exactly 6 of these weapons in late 1944 as the 5th Marine Division prepares to sail. They nickname it the Stinger for the devastating sting it delivers. None of the 6 original weapons will survive the war, but on February 19, 1945, one of them will help earn its wielder the Medal of Honor. November 19, 44. The 5th Marine Division boards ships for an unknown destination. The Marines know it's an island. They know it'll be heavily defended. They don't know its name yet. Iwo Jima. A volcanic rock 8 square miles in size, 660 miles south of Tokyo. Strategic importance beyond its tiny footprint. American B-29 bombers flying from the Marianas to hit Japan need emergency landing fields. Japanese fighters based on Iwo intercept them. Take the island, eliminate the threat, provide safe havens for damaged bombers. The mission is simple. The execution will be anything but. Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi commands 21,000 Japanese defenders. He studied American tactics obsessively. Knows the Marines will come. He spent an entire year turning Iwo Jima into a fortress. 11 miles of underground tunnels. Command posts 75 feet below ground. Hundreds of mutually supporting pillboxes. Artillery positions with interlocking fields of fire. Kuribayashi's strategy breaks from traditional Japanese doctrine. No banzai charges. No suicidal glory-seeking. Just cold, calculated defense. Let them land. Let them bunch up on the beaches. Then make them pay for every inch. 1 American dead for every yard gained. 10 American casualties for every Japanese defender lost. The mathematics are brutal and precise. Admiral Chester Nimitz approves 3 days of pre-assault naval bombardment. Marines request 10. Poor weather limits the barrage to just 13 effective hours. Not enough. Not nearly enough. But February 19th arrives, whether anyone's ready or not. At 0900 hours, the first wave of 30,000 Marines hits the beaches. The 1st and 2nd Battalions, 28th Marines, land on Green Beach, the extreme southwestern landing zone, directly beneath Mount Suribachi's looming volcanic cone. Corporal Tony Stein's platoon, Company A, is in the first wave. The beach consists of steep, coarse, black volcanic ash. It swallows Marines to their ankles, stops vehicles dead. Men struggle forward, fighting the terrain as much as the enemy. For the first hour, the Japanese hold fire, disciplined, patient, letting the beaches fill with men and equipment. Then, at 1,000 hours, the island erupts. Artillery shells, mortar rounds, machine gun fire. It pours from positions Marines can't see. The Japanese aren't on the island. They're in the island, hidden, concealed, every position offering cover, concealment, and overlapping fields of fire. Mount Suribachi dominates the landing area. Observers on its slopes see every American movement. Marines describe it as throwing human flesh against reinforced concrete. The defensive fire is deadly and accurate. Men fall by the dozens. Vehicles founder in volcanic ash. The narrow beaches become killing zones. The 28th Marines' mission is to drive across the island's 750-yard neck to the western shore, cutting off Mount Suribachi from Japanese reinforcements. It's a mission that will cost dearly. But according to the official Medal of Honor citation, Corporal Tony Stein is the first man of his unit on station after hitting the beach. What he does next will be documented in 15 official endorsements. The most of any Medal of Honor recipient from Iwo Jima. Armed with his personally improvised Stinger, Stein immediately provides rapid covering fire as his platoon attempts to move into position. The weapon's distinctive roar, 1,500 rounds per minute, cuts through the general chaos of battle. But his comrades are stalled. Concentrated machine gun and mortar fire pins them down. Men hug the volcanic ash, trying to become invisible, trying to survive. Tony Stein makes a decision that defies every survival instinct. He stands upright, fully exposed to enemy view, deliberately drawing hostile fire to his own person. It's suicidal by any tactical standard. A conscious choice to become a target so he can observe the locations of the furiously blazing Japanese guns. Bullets snap past. Mortar rounds explode around him, but he spots them, the concealed positions, the hidden pillboxes, the guns that are killing his brothers. Having located the enemy positions, he attacks. Alone, he charges the Japanese pillboxes one by one, the Stinger roaring. spitting 1,500 rounds per minute into concrete apertures, ventilation shafts, anywhere bullets can penetrate. In these furious single-handed assaults, Stein personally kills at least 20 enemy soldiers, destroys multiple fortified positions that had pinned down his entire platoon. Fellow Marines watch in awe and terror as he systematically dismantles defensive positions that would typically require coordinated squad actions with demolitions, flamethrowers, supporting fire. But the Stinger's devastating firepower comes at a cost. It exhausts ammunition in seconds. A 100-round magazine empties in 4 to 5 seconds of sustained fire. The mathematics are unforgiving. High rate of fire equals rapid ammunition consumption. Undaunted, Stein removes his helmet and boots. Every ounce of weight matters now. He sprints back toward Green Beach for more ammunition. The distance is substantial. Marines are pushing inland. The route back is swept by machine gun fire, mortars, artillery. It's a death run that would make most men hesitate. Stein makes this trip 8 times. 8 sprints back to the beach through hell. But here's what makes it extraordinary. Every single time he returns to the beach, he carries or assists a wounded Marine back to safety. Think about that operational calculus. Stein could make the ammunition runs faster alone, get back into the fight quicker, but he deliberately slows himself down, adds the weight and vulnerability of carrying casualties, because his brothers need help. 8 trips, 8 wounded Marines evacuated. Each trip under what his citation describes as a merciless hail of exploding shells and bullets, which fell on all sides. Late in the day, when a particularly stubborn pillbox continues resisting, Stein directs the fire of a half-track against the fortification until achieving its ultimate destruction. His tactical awareness extends beyond personal heroics to coordinating combined arms fire. Twice during the day, the Stinger is shot from his hands by enemy fire. Twice he retrieves it and continues fighting. As darkness approaches and his platoon begins withdrawing to consolidate the company position, Stein personally covers their withdrawal, standing between his comrades and the enemy. The Stinger providing suppressive fire until the last man reaches safety. The 28th Marines are the only regiment of the 4 landing that day to achieve their D-Day objectives. They reach the western shore, isolate Mount Suribachi. Corporal Stein's actions contribute materially to that success. The cost for the regiment is severe, but it would have been catastrophically worse without the toolmaker from Dayton. What nobody knows yet, what Stein himself doesn't know, is that he has exactly 10 days left to live. February 23rd, 1945. 4 days after the landing, Marines raise the American flag atop Mount Suribachi. Joe Rosenthal's photograph becomes the most reproduced image in history. Stein participates in the Suribachi fight but is wounded during the assault. The specific nature of his wounds isn't documented in surviving records. Only that they require shipboard medical care. He's evacuated to a hospital ship offshore. Standard procedure. Get the wounded stabilized, treated, sent back to rear areas for recovery. But Tony Stein doesn't stay long. While recovering, he hears reports that his regiment is taking heavy casualties during the assault on Hill 362A, a strongly defended position on Iwo's west side. The sources record that he leaps from his bed and leaves the hospital ship without authorization. This violates orders and regulations. But Stein apparently feels his brothers need him more than he needs medical treatment. His commanding officers, recognizing the type of Marine he is, allow him to remain. It's a decision that will hold them. March 1st, 1945. Exactly 10 days after his Medal of Honor actions, Corporal Tony Stein is leading a 19-man patrol sent to reconnoiter a Japanese machine gun emplacement that has Company A pinned down. Walking first into danger, as squad leaders often do. Somewhere in the volcanic rock and scrub brush ahead, a Japanese sniper has a clear field of fire. He's waiting, patient, disciplined, the way snipers do. The kind of sniper Tony Stein hunted and killed on Bougainville when they called him the Sniper Exterminator. But this time, the sniper spots Stein first. A single shot rings out. The bullet strikes Corporal Tony Stein. He falls. The 23-year-old Marine from Dayton, Ohio, the toolmaker who built a weapon from crashed aircraft parts, who stood upright in a storm of bullets, dies on a volcanic rock 6,000 miles from home. His body is recovered approximately 1 week later, initially buried in Plot 5, Row 6, Grave 1107 of the 5th Marine Division Cemetery on Iwo Jima. The war continues without him. On April 1, 1945, Marines invade Okinawa. On August 6th and 9th, atomic bombs fall on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. On August 15th, Japan surrenders. By war's end, 2,400 B-29 bombers carrying 27,000 crewmen make emergency landings on Iwo Jima's captured airfields. Airfields taken at the cost of nearly 7,000 American lives. Each of those aircrews owes their lives to Marines like Tony Stein. That was the mission. That was the cost. February 19, 1946. Exactly 1 year after Tony Stein's heroic actions, Rear Admiral F.W. Peniory presents the Medal of Honor to his widow, Joan, at the Ohio State House in Columbus. Ohio Governor Frank Larshe presides. The citation is read. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life, above and beyond the call of duty, the first man of his unit to be on station after hitting the beach, armed with a personally improvised aircraft-type weapon, provided rapid covering fire. When his comrades were stalled, he gallantly stood upright and exposed himself to the enemy's view, drawing hostile fire to his own person. Determined to neutralize the strategically placed weapons, he boldly charged enemy pillboxes one by one, succeeded in killing 20 of the enemy, made a total of 8 trips under intense fire, carrying or assisting a wounded man back each time. Despite the unrelenting savagery and confusion of battle, he rendered prompt assistance. His weapon was twice shot from his hands. He personally covered the withdrawal of his platoon. Stout-hearted and indomitable. In December 1948, Tony Stein's remains returned to the United States. He's buried with full military honors on December 17th in Calvary Cemetery, Dayton, Ohio. Following funeral services at Our Lady of the Rosary Church, his mother, Rose, attends with tears streaming down her face. The Navy honors him by naming the USS Stein, a Knox-class frigate commissioned January 8, 1972. His mother, remarried as Rose S. Parks, serves as sponsor at the December 19, 1970 launching. The ship serves until 1992, completing 9 major overseas deployments. In 1998, the Corporal Tony Stein Memorial Bridge is erected at the intersection of North Keowee Street in Dayton. An inscription honors the only World War II Medal of Honor recipient from his hometown. Camp Pendleton dedicates a building to his memory. But the Stinger weapon, despite its devastating combat effectiveness, has no direct influence on future designs. All 6 original weapons are destroyed under military policy prohibiting retention of non-standard equipment. The innovation dies with its creators. Admiral Nimitz famously said of Iwo Jima, "Uncommon valor was a common virtue." The 36-day battle results in 6,821 Americans killed and 19,217 wounded, a casualty rate approaching 39%. 27 Marines and sailors earned the Medal of Honor at Iwo Jima, more than any other battle in American history. Nearly 20,000 Japanese defenders die. Only 1,083 survive, but the numbers don't tell the human story. They don't explain why a first-generation American, son of Jewish immigrants fleeing persecution, transformed himself from a 130-pound high school dropout into an elite warrior. They don't explain why he used tool-making skills learned at a Dayton machine shop to create a weapon that gave Marines a fighting chance on a killing beach. They don't explain the tactical decisions, standing upright to draw fire, carrying wounded during ammunition runs, returning from a hospital ship that valued others' lives above his own. James H. Hollis writes that fellow Marines described Stein as someone who didn't know the meaning of the word fear. But perhaps it wasn't absence of fear. Perhaps it was something greater. The willingness to face fear for something larger than himself. The Marine Corps uses Stein's story today to teach that the most capable weapon they have is their mind, coupled with courage, can overcome any challenge. The Stinger represents the Marine Corps ethos of adaptation, improvisation, innovation in combat. The spirit of adapt and overcome. Tony Stein's story isn't just history, it's living tradition, teaching each generation that courage, innovation, and devotion to comrades remain the Marine Corps' most powerful weapons. The dramatic narrative of the toolmaker who became a sniper exterminator, who built a devastating weapon from salvaged aircraft parts, who made 8 trips through hell while carrying his brothers to safety, who died leading from the front. This isn't Hollywood fiction, this is documented, endorsed by the highest levels of command, witnessed by the Marines who fought beside him. Lieutenant General Holland M. Smith endorsed the citation. Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz endorsed it. Marine Corps Commandant General Alexander Vandergrift endorsed it. Fleet Admiral Ernest King endorsed it. 15 endorsements total. The most of any Medal of Honor recipient from Iwo Jima, according to historian Brian Mark Rigg. That's how extraordinary his actions were. The lesson: some breakthroughs don't come from the experts. They come from the person who refuses to accept that's how we've always done it as an answer. Tony Stein wasn't a weapons designer, wasn't a military engineer. He was a toolmaker who saw a problem, identified a solution in crashed aircraft parts, and used his hands-on skills to build something new. Something the military never authorized, something that saved lives. The Stinger teaches us that innovation doesn't require credentials. It requires observation, skill, and the willingness to try something different. But what separates Tony Stein from other innovators, what earns him the Medal of Honor, isn't the weapon he built. It's what he chose to do with it, standing upright to draw fire, charging pillboxes alone, making 8 ammunition runs while carrying wounded Marines, covering his platoon's withdrawal, returning from a hospital ship to fight beside his brothers. These aren't the actions of someone seeking glory. These are the actions of someone who values others' lives more than his own. By war's end, Tony Stein is one of 464 Marines and Navy personnel to receive the Medal of Honor during World War II. He's the only Jewish recipient from Iwo Jima. But the medal isn't what defines him. What defines Tony Stein is the 23 years he lived, the courage he displayed, the lives he saved, and the legacy he left. From the son of immigrants who fled persecution to the elite warrior who died leading a patrol, from the high school dropout who learned tool making at a Dayton machine shop, to the innovative Marine who built a weapon from salvaged aircraft parts, from the fighter who won the Golden Gloves Championship to the sniper exterminator who hunted Japanese marksmen on Bougainville. Every step of his journey prepared him for February 19, 1945. For those 12 hours on Green Beach when one Marine with a homemade weapon changed the course of a battle. Today, the black volcanic ash of Iwo Jima remains undisturbed. The island is Japanese territory again, administered by the Tokyo metropolitan government. Few civilians live there. The beaches where 30,000 Marines landed are quiet now. The pillboxes Tony Stein charged are still there, concrete monuments to the fury of battle. Mount Suribachi still dominates the landscape, but the men who fought there, the uncommon valor they displayed, that's preserved in memory, in medals, in the living tradition of the Marine Corps. Tony Stein's widow, Joan, received his Medal of Honor on February 19, 1946. She remarried years later, lived a full life, but she never forgot the 23-year-old Marine she married in San Diego and lost on Iwo Jima. His mother Rose attended his reburial in Dayton, with tears streaming down her face, mourning the son who volunteered when he didn't have to. He fought when he could have stayed home, who died leading men into danger because that's what Marines do. The toolmaker who looked at crashed aircraft and saw salvation. The warrior who built a weapon from salvaged parts and used it to save lives. The leader who died doing what squad leaders do, walking point, leading from the front, putting himself between his men and danger. Because history isn't just about famous generals and massive battles, it's about the individual Marines, sailors, soldiers, and airmen who faced impossible odds and refused to quit, who saw problems and built solutions, who valued their brothers more than their own lives. That's the real story of World War II. That's the story of Tony Stein, the toolmaker from Dayton who built a gun called the Stinger, who stood upright in a storm of bullets, who made 8 trips through hell while saving wounded Marines, and who died 10 days later leading a patrol on a volcanic island 6,000 miles from home. 23 years old, Medal of Honor recipient, Marine. The first man of his unit on station after hitting the beach, the last man standing between his brothers and the enemy. Uncommon valor was a common virtue on Iwo Jima. But some Marines, like Tony Stein, took that virtue to heights that still inspire us 80 years later.